a mi familia, te mato.
Vamos a tener que irnos de Belfast.
Lucharemos juntos.
Es la hora.
¿La hora de qué?
De la guerra.
Dame Judi, you have worked with Kenneth many times before, but this is a project that's so personal to him. So now that he can hear us, was it different working with him this time around because of that? Was there a different environment on set, maybe? Can you tell me about that?
There were many different things. First, the responsibility to Ken that we were telling his personal story, his own story. And secondly, that it was a privileged time for us because it was during lockdown at the beginning, and so we were all, the responsibilities of all of that, of keeping apart, of wearing masks, of being kept separate, was all so brilliantly managed. I don't know how Ken does that as well as directing the film, but we were all unbelievably well taken care of, and maybe because of that, of a time when everybody was feeling a bit unsure of their ground, it was extra special because that coming together did unify us as a family very quickly.
Yeah. So, Sir Kenneth, why did you decide now that this was the moment to go back to your past and tell this story for everyone? Do you think it would have been different if you had done it, I don't know, like 20 years ago, for example?
I do, Pedro. The lockdown, the beginning of the pandemic really produced in me a feeling of being very unsettled, very concerned about the future, sensing the unknown, feeling that routine is removed from us and human beings aren't very good about that kind of thing. It really drove me right back to the same feeling, intensified as a 9-year-old, when what had been an adventure playground of a street and a neighborhood suddenly became this fortress and this sort of encampment. And so it seemed that the two periods spoke to each other. And finally, also I'd got to an age where I didn't really care so much what people thought, so telling a version of your story seemed to me something that was more natural to me than it had ever been. And in this case, at this time, more necessary to me than it had ever been.
You have said that when you were writing the film during confinement, you were inspired by what Pedro Almodóvar did in Pain and Glory. So can you please explain what was exactly that inspired you from his film?
Well, I think I've had a chance since working on this to meet with Maestro Almodóvar, and I found him an absolutely brilliant, fascinating and kind and compassionate man. His works have always inspired me because they don't always follow logic. I like that. So there's an abstract impressionist thing sometimes, and he's also very truthful and real and very detailed and gritty sometimes. There's a great relationship between a real life narrative and the possibility of dreams and stream of consciousness. So I love that, always very colorful, always very vibrant, very dynamic. I feel his love of cinema when I watch his films, and I really identify with that in this movie when we go to see the films that the family sees, that I felt as though I shared with him some sense of the grenade going off in one's creative center with cinema. His work does that for me. I might just, while I'm at it, say what a wonderful film Parallel Mothers is, and what a great performance by Penelope Cruz, who we love, don't we?
We certainly do love. And have
we love her too.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, Javier Bardem, also fantastic in Being the Ricardos. A brilliant performance by Javier.
So proud of them. Ireland and Spain are very similar in a lot of ways, and I think you can see that in the film in Belfast, especially around the idea of family as being so close physically, with grandmas living with their children and grandchildren, or very close to them. That happens a lot in Spain. So I'd like to know, Dame Judi, what was the process of bonding and forming that family behind the scenes? Because you can feel you're a real family when you see the film, as you said before.
I think primarily it's the writing that was so powerful, and what I've said about the fact that we were privileged to be making the film at that time. There's something about that family coming together and the reliance on Ken, who was there, of course, to tell us, and the script that he had written. I mean, it was it was like having wonderful things given to you at a time of great scarcity. We were, no one was very sure about what was going to happen during the pandemic, but this was a wonderfully kind of secure thing that you could rely on each day, that we were going to be that unit together. And that was vitally important, and I think added a great deal to getting that family feeling.
I also think that when I saw you on the first morning come in the door for rehearsal, you made a beeline to Jude Hill. You immediately went to him. You knew, and it was almost like that was the start of rehearsal. The start of rehearsal was she was clearly the two Judes were going to have to get on, and
I think we were known as the young Jude and the not so young Jude. Yes.
Marchaos. No miréis atrás.